When I reviewed the Futurama movie Into the Wild Green Yonder a few months back, I briefly mentioned how the 4 movies that were produced in the attempt to get the series revived pretty much dropped in quality with each passing one. So naturally, this would mean the first of the 4 was the top of the heap, right? Well, yes, and more than you may possibly know. Bender's Big Score is not just the best of the 4 Futurama movies, it may be the best episode of the entire series. The story is the best combination of sci-fi adventure, comedy, action, and romance that I've seen since Back to the Future, and I think you all know those are not things I'd say lightly. The writers and creators absolutely brought their A game in this first attempt to try and revive the series, and they totally hit it out of the park. And I am running out of hyperbole to say just how good this movie is, so let's jump right in. The movie opens by reintroducing the Planet Express crew before Professor Farnsworth reveals that they've been long shut down by the Box Network, until he gets a call that the executives that canceled them were themselves fired, beaten up, and killed. Okay, you know that I have often ridiculed comedy writers for not being subtle, but there are times when lack of subtlety works, and this is one of those cases. Groening and company wanted to air their grievances to Fox as loudly as they could, and they did so. So the crew celebrate being back in business by throwing a party that ends with Hermes getting his head cut off. And this is not just a form of shock humor. There is a purpose to this early twist. One of the big problems I had with Into the Wild Green Yonder, as you recall, was that most of what happened in the first quarter of the movie had little impact on the remainder of the story. Bender's Big Score is the complete opposite. Almost every single thing that happens from this point on has some impact on the story's ultimate resolution. There is a point to having Hermes reverted to being a head in the jar for the majority of this movie. And not just because bringing him to the museum to get preserved allows the plot to introduce Lars, an employee at the museum who instantly takes a liking to Leela and vice versa. This naturally does not go over well with Fry, who's pretty much been fapping to Leela since episode 2. So have we all, Fry. So have we all.
There, wife. Everything'll be all right.
Okay, look, Hermes. We got to think of the boy. He needs a daddy.
He has a daddy.
No, he got 2 half-daddies. Will his body be all right?
Yes, but it may take a few days.
Nuh-uh, not soon enough.
I'm just gonna go out and say it, Hermes' wife is a bitch. So the crew now gets their first job since returning, which is making a shipment to a nude beach planet, and this is one issue I take with the movie, because I find it very hard to believe that Fry could be on a nude beach with Leela without getting so excited, if you know what I mean. Also, it's a good thing this review is a Patreon exclusive because it means I don't have to censor things, which helps with the first of 2 plot elements we get on this planet. The reveal that Fry has a tattoo of Bender on his butt. The other thing is that we meet this group of nude aliens who are actually scam artists. This leads into everyone on the crew becoming victims of fraud, and here is another example of something done way better than in Wild Green Yonder, making comedy out of a social issue, and one that remains relevant to this day. Unlike in the other movie, where they had to turn some of the main characters heel in order to get the plot moving, here everyone's a victim, but everyone is at fault as well.
I, Zoidberg, am his next of kin. Once I wire some good faith money to an overseas bank account, I'll inherit his kingdom, his canoe, and his plump young wife.
You dumb stumps. Don't you realize you're being scammed?
That is low, Hermes. Just because you don't have a body, you don't want anyone else to be Prince of Nigeria.
When the professor tries to lecture them on sending out personal information, he eventually falls for a scam himself, and one that leads to the scammer aliens getting control of Planet Express. Oh, and they also gain control of Bender, who downloaded a virus to his mainframe looking for porn. Basically, these aliens are the source of all scams in the universe, kind of like the fraud mafia. And they're really creepy, basically sensing information like it's an aphrodisiac. It's like the writers took the worst nightmares of what we think scam artists are like and made them real and even more disgusting. Trust me, if you don't want to see these guys killed violently, you will by at least the third act. And spoiler alert, they won't disappoint. They discover that the Bender tattoo on Fry contains a binary code that when read opens up time travel gates. And it's here that Nibbler reveals his true identity as a space cop or something again, but admittedly he really doesn't do much other than help exposit that using the time code could rip apart the universe, and that if traveling back in time causes a paradox-induced duplicate of someone, the duplicate is doomed to get killed. But I'm sure that won't be key to the plot at all. The scammers want to use the code to travel back and steal treasures from history, so now they're even stealing ideas from Carmen Sandiego, but the code only works to travel back in time, not forward. So Bender volunteers to do the stealing and wait out the centuries under the building. All I can say is, damn, they make robots pretty damn durable in the future if they can last for what ultimately has to be millions of years. But you do have to give props to the creators for showing that one of Bender's raids is what led to the alien attack that destroyed New York as we saw back in the pilot. Yeah, this movie's gonna do things like that a lot. It's like porn for the die-hard geek fans of the show. And as he's doing that, we're shown the professor owning a doomsday device that I'm sure won't come up again until the scammers decide they want the device and get Bender to steal it from Farnsworth. So now the scammers have the bomb. This can't possibly be a bad thing. And again, this immediately has some meaning to the story. I'm sure Bender getting back the fake satchel he originally switched with the real one has no purpose, but Zoidberg reattaching the professor's sewn-off hand convinces Hermes to get his body back from the past and have Zoidberg reattach it. It doesn't go so well.
You incompetent crab!
I thought you were happy. Your tail is wagging.
Okay, Hermes, you asked Zoidberg to help you. What were you expecting? So after using Bender to steal every historical treasure out there, the scammers now decide they want to preserve the timeline. Convenient. And so they try to destroy Fry with the code. Having lost the love of his life and now being pursued by murderous aliens, Fry decides to use the time code to go back to the one place he could be safe. January 1st, 2000, the night he was originally cryogenically frozen.
Hello, 2000. I'm home.
Happy New Year, naked weirdo!
Happy New Year.
Want me to concludify him? Like some sort of dispatcherator?
Yes, and don't forget to terminate him.
Got it! Preparing to terminate Philip Fry!
Wow, and we also get a movie reference that doesn't feel like it's forced on? Take note, Seth MacFarlane!
Oh, wait. That's Fry before he goes to the future. I'm waiting for the one who comes back from the future. Sheesh, this is confusing. And I bet it's gonna get a lot more confusing.
Oh, it will, Bender, but it does so in the best way possible, because this is where the writing gets absolutely brilliant. As Mr. Enter once said, any time travel story is going to have inconsistencies and plot holes that could unravel the story if you think too much about it. But this movie does the absolute best to cover all of those possible plot holes. They pretty much think of everything here. Fry's cheap beer from the past doesn't agree with Bender, so he has to create a time paradox duplicate of himself to wait for Fry while he goes to the bathroom. When Fry shows up, Bender tries to kill him, but the conflict of needing to obey orders against the desire to not kill his friend, combined with the fact that this one still needs to pee, sends this Bender into auto-destruct mode, which Fry stops by shoving him in a cryo chamber. Of course, the other Bender that went to the bathroom is still around and begins to hunt down Fry.
Say your prayers, Fry!
This isn't Fry. I kicked Fry out 2 hours ago.
He must have left the city. Man, this could take all day. Philip Fry! Are you Philip J. Fry or not? Because if you are, I'm here to kill you.
You want Uncle Phil? He went to the North Pole on a fishy boat.
Ah, the North Pole. I was just there.
He finally finds Fry living above Panucci's and blows up the place, flash fossilizing his dog in the process. When he returns to Planet Express, the scammers remove the obedience virus and the time code and leave him with the eternal guilt of having killed his best friend. Except that Fry is alive!
But I killed you in 2012. Unless... Nope, he's not a zombie.
So get this, when Fry left the cryo lab, he naturally went back to Panucci's, where seeing his boss cleaning up made him hungry, so he went back to the lab to get the pizza there. He then goes back an hour or so to when the pizza was still relatively fresh.
Closing in 7, 6...
What are you doing here? 1 hour from now, I travel back in time for free pizza. But Nibbler said not to use the time code. Fine, Mr. Responsible. Don't use the code.
Then when he tried to pickpocket his frozen self, he fell into the same cryo chamber and was stuck there for the next 1,000 years as well. So when his first self was thawed in the year 3000, he pretty much just gave up and refroze himself for the next 8 years to go back to the original time. But what about the Fry that left the cryo lab? Well, since that Fry now got delayed in returning to Panucci's by 1 minute from talking to himself, he returned when Panucci was finished cleaning, so he didn't see the trash pizza and thus didn't get hungry. Thus, the paradox was created, and this Fry thus lived on in the 21st century until Bender killed him. See, everything tied together. I think I just sprained my brain explaining all that. But this is an interesting plot element in showing how Fry could end up finding happiness again back in the 21st century. Sort of. We get repeated cuts for the rest of the movie showing duplicate Fry in the 21st century, which mainly focus on him getting a job at the aquarium, taking care of a stranded narwhal, only to have its sea being sent back to the wild, so Fry then goes after it at the North Pole.
He went to the North Pole on a fishy boat.
But he ultimately realizes he has to let her go because the open water is where she belongs. Damn it, why does this comedy do such a good job at hitting you in the feels? Meanwhile, after Nibbler removes the tattoo and code and the scammers take over the city, Lars proposes to Leela, only to run out on the wedding after he sees Hermes' body get killed again.
I warned him a time paradox duplicate is always doomed. What?
Your husband's original body will be repaired within 1 week.
Nuh-uh, not soon enough. Boy needs a daddy.
You know, between this and her running off to join the Feministas, why does Hermes stick by this woman again? By this time, the scammers have taken over the entire Earth and banished humanity to Neptune, the home of evil robot Santa, who was also scammed. So he's willing to help build a fleet that the humans can launch against the scammers and their fleet of gold Death Stars.
I'm gonna open fire, prepare for gore galore. This Trinity's going to war.
So now it looks like there is nothing standing in the way of the humans taking their planet back.
And now, to present the battle plan, Commander Zap Brannigan.
They are so screwed.
10, 9,
Okay, who had less than 30 seconds in the pool?
Does anybody mind if I take command?
But the scammers' assault is too much for even Leela to lead a counterattack against, so it's up to Bureaucrat Hermes to the rescue!
I saved Earth and won back my woman. Right, woman?
Dude, you just saved the world. You can do so much better than her. That's no use. He's whipped. What? You mean even that plot element gets brought back too?
They sawed off my hand and stole the Doomsday device.
It wasn't them. It was me, Bender, the master criminal.
But wait, the scammers don't actually have the bomb!
Did you end up with the Doomsday device?
I was working the long con all along, so I retrieved the dummy satchel. And as soon as I was out of the scammer's control, I pulled the old switcheroo. And that's how I saved Earth and am the greatest.
Yes, you are, Bender. Yes, you are. So Earth is saved, Hermes gets his real body back, but Leela is still depressed over Lars leaving her, so just like his duplicate did in the past, Fry figures he has to do what's right to make someone else happy.
Give me the time code!
I don't have it!
Not you! You!
Lars?
What the?
4, 3, 2, 1, boom!
Oh! Oh, Lars, no!
Yep, Lars was duplicate Fry all along. He survived Bender's attack, only to discover who he was going to become, so he went and cryo-froze himself to get back to the future. I know this movie won an Annie Award, but damn it, it deserved an Emmy for this type of writing!
Everything was perfect until Hermes exploded at our wedding. That's when I learned that as a time paradox duplicate, I too was doomed. I couldn't put Leela through that. He was a good man, Leela.
Yeah, you were.
In order for any of this to make any sense at all, someone must make one final trip back in time to put the code on Fry's ass in the first place.
0011000101.
So with all that taken care of, everything has been restored to its proper place.
I met all these really cool guys with treasure down in the limestone cavern, so I invited them to stick around instead of coming up when they were logically supposed to.
Everyone out of the universe, quick!
What's the worst that can happen? Well, we're boned.
Huh. I figured the universe getting ripped apart would be less sequel baity.